All right, everyone, now we have to talk about the stubbornness and stupidity of most of the Democratic Party. They get their asses handed to them in Virginia, and the socialists get wiped off the earth in Buffalo and in Seattle. Leftoidism in most races throughout the nation, it's like an 85% success rate for people who stood against the far left, including a handful of instances where it was Democrats doing it. Again, like in Buffalo, Byron Brown had been an incumbent, a Democrat, but he's more on the Manchin-esque side. He gets primaried out by a socialist, literally self-professed, comes back with a write-in campaign and curb stomps her in the general. It is clear that Americans, by and large, reject critical race theory, reject constant more and more centrality from the government, are not happy with the economy, which has been partially affected by attacks on the energy industry, again, centrality, although most people don't analyze it that way, excessive regulation, more fees and so forth. You've got shortages. You have all sorts of problems in the country. You had an open border and constant swarms of people coming in. You have caravans of people numbering in the thousands on a fairly regular basis coming across largely unopposed because there's no interest by the government in governing the border. Our border czar, appointed half a year ago, has yet to even visit the border, has never visited one of the migrant concentration camps along the border, and is frequently, when asked, completely unaware of the situation at the border. Apparently doesn't even pay attention to the briefs. Kamala Harris is even crazier than Joe Biden from an optics standpoint, which is why her approval's in the 30s right now, which I love to see because she should never wield any form of real power. If Biden croaks or resigns or something, I hope that they kick her out of office before she can even take the goddamn oath of office. Here's an interesting thing that I'm noticing, though, in the last 24 hours. In the wake of Youngkin being shown to be the victor in Virginia and all these other things, now the Dems are looking forward to a massive loss on Second Amendment issues in SCOTUS fairly soon. They're going to be probably making concealed carry the law of the land nationwide. By the way, they will probably limit it in their language. Here's a prediction. Just like I predicted that the Dems would, ballot printer go burr, and ultimately they would win New Jersey, although they only did it by less than 2 points. I was correct. Here's another prediction. They will limit their language, and the next big fight will be over how big a fee you can charge when you're doing the shall issue permitting. So New York will say, okay, we have to issue these permits, but we can quadruple them in price. We can make it a lot more expensive to concealed carry. You have to renew it every year, so you have to pay $1,000 a year to concealed carry or something like that, which will, by the way, dispossess disproportionately non-white individuals in big city areas from concealed carrying, which is what they want. Really, they've got their private guards, they've got theirs. They just don't want you carrying your little revolver around to fight off the gang members that they themselves are on the payroll of most of the time. So what do the Dems do? They get slamma-jammed in Virginia and elsewhere. What are they doing? They're doubling down. Part of the reason why especially white female voters fled the Democratic Party in droves, part of it was child-related. The Terry McAuliffe pissing off parents thing didn't work for them. Another part is that you have repeatedly called these people racists. You are constantly harassing them. You are not a serious political party, Democrats. You have chosen to alienate the majority of the U.S. population through some combination of your own deeply entrenched racism or your insane economic views. If you collapse those two groups together, it's like 2/3 of the goddamn population that's pissed at you right now. That's why your turnout was low. You got people who naturally are not Republican at all who stayed home and refused to vote for the Dems despite your fear propaganda. Meanwhile, they come out and say, no, the GOP was using fear propaganda. Youngkin is rambling about critical race theory, but it's not even in Virginia schools. But that's a lie. We all know it's a lie. That's why you have all of these fights at school board meetings, because critical race theory is influencing the curriculum and parents don't want it. And when you have candidates latch on to the issue and say, no, critical racist theory is fine. Oh, no, I can't define what's in it, like McAuliffe literally did. By the way, that's kind of a contravention, isn't it? Oh, yeah, I support critical race theory, but we're not using it in our schools. What the fuck? Why haven't you suggested that it be implemented? Why aren't they reading Karl Marx in the schools? Or something like that? Well, I guess it's a virtue, right? Do you want your kids taught that way? But all these politicians, their kids are in private schools or have tutors and homeschooling and stuff. Again, why do homeschoolers perform so much better if parents aren't qualified to make educational decisions? Granted that the average parent that homeschools is going to be in a higher socioeconomic rung, and they're going to tend to be, they're going to have more time to do things with their kid. Their upbringing might be better in the subjective sense, because of course otherwise they wouldn't be homeschooling. But that being said, there is a discrepancy there. Why is the public education system so shitty if all of these things that you do to it are always virtuous? Common Core and No Child Left Behind, critical race theory, and remember Michelle Obama's school lunches? Has Biden brought them back, or did he say that's a losing issue? I don't want to lose the recently graduated from high school voters by feeding them poisonous slop, brown celery sticks and outdated soy milk and chalk. We're gonna feed them environmentally friendly. We're going to feed them coal. It's got carbon in it and shit. It's probably got some calories, little bits of fossilized moss and stuff. Anyway, getting off on a tangent. High energy as usual. Think about all of the things the Democrats did that alienated voters. They've doubled down on them. They've doubled down on them all. Critical race theory, attacking parents, especially white parents, going after race, also going after non-degree holders. I love it when they put those breakdowns on there, and the associated political cartoons always cast off Republicans as inevitably they have suspenders and 5 assault weapons on them, and the hunting hat and stuff, usually toothless and smoking a marb. That it's sort of a stereotype. Beyond that, there's nothing there. There's usually no further message. Actually, I saw a tweet the other day that compared left and right leaning political cartoons. I have noticed that it's not always the case, but it is quite often the case that people on the left that do that, it's all about the imagery. It's almost like primitive. It's like cave painting or something. You're trying to convey without having the words to convey, or you have a wall of text that nobody reads. That's the other joke. Whereas the right-wing, or at least non-leftist political cartoons, they tend to set up a more classical satirical situation. Like Stone Toss does this constantly, Ben Garrison. I have noticed that. There is a difference in style as well. There's a bit of reductionism that goes on among leftoids. There's a little bit lower effort at times. Although I know Stone Toss, it's like almost like a flash animation turned into a cartoon, but it's still interesting. They're doubling down. I don't know why. The only one that's not is like Joe Manchin. All the neoliberals aren't even speaking out. They've just maintained radio silence or pivoted to talking about things that don't have to do with an autopsy of why you just got crushed. They don't want to talk about it because they would inevitably, if they're being honest, they would have to identify that leftoidism is the problem. Critical race theory is indefensible Marxist nonsense. Attacking white people is not a good way to get them to vote for you. The irony is that these same people will then beg, please white people help us. Vote for Terry McAuliffe. Vote for whoever the candidate happens to be. The other guy is crazy or racist. But you've just spent all of your time unleashing on white voters over and over again. Like the MSNBC article, white ignorance is obviously a big problem. White backlash, I love that term. No, I mean, why would I vote for a candidate from a party? Unless it was a really spectacular individual who distanced themselves from the DNC. Why would I vote for a Democrat when the party's official line, unchallenged by the moderates so-called, appears to be that I'm bad because I'm white, I'm male, and I don't support the idea that state schools should be ramming propaganda down people's throats? Why would I vote for you? There's no reason. And then you're going to steal all my money too, so there's the shot and the chaser, I guess. That's about all. Peace out.